This episode of Chew Quieter is sponsored by LiftedForLess.com. LiftedForLess.com is your one-stop online marketplace for top quality parts and accessories for your Jeep, Bronco, or truck, carrying great brands like Rockcrawler Suspension, Savvy Off-Road, Rigid Industries, and many more. With a wide range of products designed to enhance your vehicle, trust LiftedForLess.com to provide you with the best in the industry. And Rub One, revolutionizing the way you wash and protect your Jeep, truck, and side-by-side. Easy to use products designed to give your ride that perfect finish, whether you're on the streets or on the trails. With optional low pressure or high pressure foam cannons, Rub One has you covered. Get yours now at rub-one.com.
All right, you guys, podcast time.
Choose quieter.
Fucking podcasting right now.
Chew Quieter.
And now, to the podcast studio.
Welcome back to Chew Quieter. As you can see, we have quite a few people on here today. This is pretty much the post-election breakdown of what everyone kind of thinks of what happened yesterday. You know, just a reaction episode.
With us, it's a party, Gabe. It's not a breakdown.
With us today, of course, you've seen him before on the podcast just a couple months ago. Joey Hamilton with the Libertarian Party.
Hey.
And you also see Travis Goldstein here. He's been with us about 6 months ago. He was on, maybe almost a year ago, I think.
Mm-hmm. Time flies.
Yeah. And also our good friend Alex Banai. He's in Philadelphia, the Gold Star state this year for the Republicans. So, yeah. Welcome, fellas. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
And there's me. Thanks, Gabe. You forgot about me. That's okay.
Well, you're just another host. That's all. By the way, nice facial haircut.
Oh, you noticed, huh?
Yeah, you cut down on the goatee's gone, and you just have a koala's tail on your upper lip.
Well, we have so James, one of our lead tech welder, what would you say? He makes shit. He's very good at making shit. He did Ted Lasso for Halloween.
Oh.
So he shaved all his beard off and left his mustache. And he came to, I didn't see the post. And he comes to work and he's with the mustache. I'm like, what's with the mustache, dude? He's like, oh, I dressed up as Ted Lasso. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't see the freaking Facebook post. So then me and Ben, one of the other workers, we've like, hey, why don't we come in tomorrow and we'll just shave our beards off and just have a mustache. One, I had to ask permission first off Justine if I could do it or not, because I'd probably get divorced. So we all turn up, I think it was yesterday or the day before with him on, and Gerald walks in. He had no idea what was going on. Gerald walks into the office, Ben's sitting beside me, I'm on the computer, and he's come side on to me, and I can see him across my eyes looking at me going, what's different? And I look at him, he's like, oh my God. What the hell happened? And he turns around and goes, the two of you have done it. So it was just a bit of a prank.
That's good shit.
Yeah, well, I've got a cruise at the end of the month, so it has to grow back fast.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have to get some new shirts.
Yeah. 20 days and counting. Actually, it's less than that. No, 20 days? Yeah, about 20 days.
Nice. All right, so just to kind of break down what we're going to be doing tonight, like I mentioned earlier, we're just going to recap what happened last night. I did my best to try to bring in different flavors of opinion into this discussion. Like I said, Joey is a registered libertarian, works in a little capacity with the actual Libertarian Party. My friend here, Alex, is a pipe welder. He's worked on the pipelines, and he was affected when Joe Biden took office. And we're hoping now that we have some balls in the White House, he can get his old job back and get back to doing what he likes to do the best. And then also Travis here is a good friend of mine that is really into stocks. So he can read the market. He knows the market a bit. I did also ask a couple of veterans, but for obvious reasons, they're not always willing to come on to this sort of thing. I also did ask my friends that any Democrats want to come on to express their opinion. feel free to. We had a couple of people scheduled, and they kind of backed out. So I tried. So here we go. Guys,
you can only try.
What's your take on last night in the win for Donald Trump?
Well, all I know is I went to sleep at 3 a.m.
Your time?
Yes, my time.
Dang.
3 a.m. I was out on the street banging pots and pans like it was New Year's Eve.
That's like 3 p.m. our time, right?
Are you on Central Time?
I was thinking whatever the Australian time difference is with the East Coast.
That's 16 hours away. Hey, but I will say this. My daughter was texting me last night live while the election was going on, and Australia had the most crazy numbers than what we had. They had Trump at like 203 and Kamala was 198.
Every news outlet was different, and it's kind of, for the first time in a long time, I actually caught myself just tuned into CNN, because CNN is going to give us our worst case scenario as far as like live results, right? Like they're going to skew Trump's numbers to be the lowest in real time. Like Fox News had them way up, CNN had them way down. So I just watched CNN to see, I was probably one of the last people to know. Actually, I wasn't one of the last people to know because I had Jeremy Purick texting me. He just got in Vegas and he was back and forth texting with me. But I was one of the last people to know that watching on CNN that, we actually got PA because Fox News called it an hour before anyone else. And it's crazy. And that's like one of the things that I want to talk about probably later on the podcast is how much misinformation about this whole election we've been fed. And it's crazy, the gaslighting, just really from the media, not necessarily. I feel bad just for all the citizens who might not be educated enough to realize like how much of the information that we're getting is not accurate, and it's just pushing an agenda to make us hate each other. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And battle, and it's just insane.
Alex.
Yep. I was kind of shocked, honestly. I was, preparing myself for the worst because, I do live in Pennsylvania, so it's Democratic state. So, yeah, I was just, I saw the numbers kept going up, and obviously I was watching Fox because I wanted to see the numbers go up. And, I just saw the numbers kept going up and up and up. And then, next thing I know, I get up at 4 a.m. to go to work. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go to bed and, wake up and see what fate I have, and I got up. First thing I did is went on Facebook and I just saw all my friends, red. And I was like, oh, thank God, thank God. Because I was nervous.
You could actually
I was very,
take a
very
breath.
nervous. Yeah, I was very nervous, man. I was like, it's not just that, but, just the way the country was going, and like, all the other, bullshit that was going on with all this, just all the craziness, and I was just like, we need some fucking normalcy in this fucking country,
Right.
All the fucking blue hair, purple hair, fucking retards running around. I'm just tired of fucking seeing it, man.
Now, this is the Alex I know. Yeah, let it out, baby.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of fucking seeing it. Fucking transgender bathrooms and shit, and fucking kids' schools and stuff. Let them kids grow up, and let them
Be kids.
figure out what they want to do. Don't force the shit on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
I got a
So,
great
yeah,
argument of. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No. I'm just saying when you have people like I lost some dear friends today actually, due to just that very topic. And the minute I typed in my rebuttal, which is, I think majority of people who are upset right now, and that are posting on social media that that are big time liberals. One of the biggest arguments is about taking away rights for the LGBTQRXYZ community. And I'm like, well, what rights are we taking away? Like, what rights do you see? And they're like, well, kids aren't going to be able to have sex change operations. And I'm like, if your kid came to you and asked for a face tat, you're going to just go ahead and do that? No, you're not going to do that. So like, what are you coming at and arguing? It's silly, and it's making you look like a bad parent. Like, it's not about equal rights anymore. It's about you're trying to pull as deep as you can to try to prove some type of point.
Mhm.
And it's creating more division than anything. It's not like, and that's what's so aggravating about it. Sorry for interrupting you, but that was perfect. I was thinking about that. You know, the whole changing genders at elementary school age, ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I don't know, like, let them grow up and let them be kids and let them decide later on in life, if they want to be gay or whatever. I don't care, but just let them grow up. I got our relatives, they got a 5-year-old son and going to kindergarten, and they have a transgender bathroom in the school, in the city, and I'm like, why are you promoting this already? You're trying to, trying to teach them this stuff, you don't want them to learn this stuff. You just want them to, maybe experience it, later on in life, and then, they can decide then what they want to do.
Well,
I just don't agree with that, especially now that I have a kid, he's just turned a year old, and I'm nervous, man. I'm really nervous for his future. It's just crazy.
well, look at, so I don't know what year you had to be in America. How old were you when you were taught sex ed?
12
I was in high school,
in middle school for me.
I think I was in the fourth
like
grade.
ninth
I
or
was in
10th grade.
5th grade.
Yeah, we were taught it in grade 6.
See,
So I think I was 12, 13 or whatever it was. But
But we had to get
You
our
were
parents'
mature.
permission. We had to get our
Yes.
parents' permission to actually be in that class
correct.
too.
But you were mature enough to understand the birds and the bees. You weren't told these, you sort of had an idea, but that's when you learn about it. Now they're teaching kids at 5, even 4, that it's okay to be a cross-dresser. It's okay to be
Yeah.
like a girl. No,
I still
their
giggled.
minds
I still
can't
giggled when
understand
I still giggled when my teacher said vagina for the first time in that class.
I still do.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So, it's just, that's where it's wrong. They've forgotten that kids don't mature to a certain age. Like when as a boy at 12, we laughed at sex ed because our maturity is like a 7-year-old at 12.
That's when we all peak at 12, though.
I still laugh at sex
Yes.
ed. So
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? It's stupid. And
it's
to think
crazy
that a
that
5-year-old,
I'm okay. Like you wanna delete your wiener, that's fine. But I want to be able to delete my truck, and that's the problem.
Yeah, there you
Bingo.
go. There you go.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Joey, what's your take on last night?
So I'll just, I am I'm pretty staunch and principled libertarian. So I'll start by saying that I dislike both candidates. I did not vote for either candidate. I also did not vote for the Libertarian Party candidate because, as far as I'm concerned, he's as much of a Democrat as Kamala Harris is. But last night for me was like watching the Dodgers and the Yankees World Series. When the games were in LA, I was really begging for an earthquake. And when the games were in New York, I was really hoping a commercial liner would just fall from the sky and land in the Bronx. So, needless to say, I did not enjoy last night. But to the point of we're talking about, like, were we surprised by results or whatever? As someone who can appreciate Travis and his affinity for the stock market and whatnot, I was pretty well levered in Kalshi and Poly market, so I wasn't surprised at all by the results. But I was sitting back thinking, at what point do the Democrats try to rig this, cheat, steal this like they did in 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
well, I knew Trump was going to win even before the results came out, because if you watch the market,
Yeah.
from 6 p.m., the market was been going up all day. Like they already projected he was going to win.
The market does that though. Like you can have like one of my favorite things to trade. I'm an options trader, and I don't want to get into too much detail because I'll bore you guys to death. But one of the things that I love is every quarter when companies report and go over financials and projections and how they're going to, go. Sometimes the market, like for instance, Tesla might report something super bad, but 2 minutes before the report, the stock rips up 20%, and then it equalizes once. It's really people trying to play the guessing game. A lot of people guessed right last night, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean that's good for you on the betting on the election, because I'm sure that was pretty fun. I actually stayed away from that. Something about talking about rigging real quick. Do you guys know? Did you guys see the actual numbers compared to last time Democrats voted compared to this time? We lost
Yeah, so
13. They lost 13 million votes.
yeah, it was weird because when you go back to Obama, right? No, the number of votes that the Democrats received have been relatively consistent, except for in 2020 when Biden pulled, to your point, like, depending on the year you compare it to, anywhere between 12 and 15 million votes more. And as someone, again, who has equal amount of detest for both sides, when you see an anomaly like that, you automatically have to question it. And especially if you're being unbiased. And we all kind of felt that, there we go. I think we all kind of felt that something funky was going on in 2020, but to be able to put the numbers, to see the regression in the total number of votes that went to Kamala as compared to Biden, it's just like, obviously it's an anomaly.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had, and sorry to keep cutting you off, Gabe. You don't have to. We don't have to sit there and say it definitely was rigged. You could have gotten to the point because keep in mind, Democrats didn't have due process. Democrats were presented a candidate in their laps, and this is who you're gonna get. And if you don't like it, then too bad. And there's enough people that hate Donald Trump enough, but maybe didn't like Kamala to go out and vote. But it's a big number, and it should raise questions. Like that's a big difference.
Huge
there.
difference.
Mm-hmm.
Huge difference. Huge.
There was a bit of a dip off for Republican votes too, but people are just saying that those are people just voting against Trump.
Yep.
I don't feel like the whole voting against Trump thing was in play as much this year as it was in 2022 or even in 2020 or even in 2016. I don't feel like the level of hate was there this time around. I mean, do you guys feel like, I felt like here we are, it's the third time that he's running and people essentially have acquiesced to who he is as a person and who he was as a candidate. And for what it's worth, we're not getting the same Donald Trump. I don't know if it was being shot at twice or whatever it was, but we didn't get the same Donald Trump in 2024 as we did in 2016 or in 2016 when it was grabbing him by the pussy and everything else that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just digging up his past and not getting him into power. You do that with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you can't blame someone for what. We're all guys. Did we not say that shit? Do we not talk guy stuff?
I still do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't blame a guy for being a guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
they're going to find what they can find.
I'm wondering if there was even correct reporting in 2020 with the Republican numbers, because if Trump gained more male black votes and more Hispanic votes this time around, then what can be the reason for that different tick there between the two voting terms?
My neighbor, who I just moved in, Gabe's been in my house. A lot of you watching know where I live. My neighbor is African American, and I'm not one. I'll post on Facebook all day like who I'm voting for, but I'm not one to go up to someone and be like, "Hey, dog, who you voting for? Who you voting for?" Or judge anyone. I could care less at the end of the day. The day before the election, my neighbor, who's African American, he was talking to me outside. I was doing some yard work, and he was like, "You excited for this election?" I'm like, "I'm just ready to get this thing over with." And I'm like, "I bet you are too." And he's like, "Yeah, man, but it's the first time ever I'm voting Republican." And I was like, "Oh, really? Why?" Like, I'm curious. Like, what's swaying you? And his sole reason behind all this was he believes that if Kamala can sit there on a stage and lie to all these people about, changing her, like the number one thing that irked him was like changing her voice and her accent, and then talking about her own race and how that's been changed, and then how it's been debunked. And look, and I told him at the end of the day, like, I personally think we shouldn't vote on race regardless. At the end of the day, I vote on I might look like the biggest Trump supporter in the world, but I think Trump's a scummy dude at the end of the day. But I vote on policy, and I vote on the people he puts around him. And some of the stuff he's been saying is like, especially like RFK and Elon, like I think how can you vote against that? But
Yep.
to get back to my point with my neighbor, is he was telling me that just created such an ick as a minority person, the way she was trying to pull our vote just because she was black, and then getting people like Megan Thee Stallion and like hood style performers to try to pull that vote. He felt like that was racist. Oh, in itself. And I was like, wow, I never even thought about it like that. I never even looked at it like that. Like, I guess you're right. He's like, she's not hood. Why would she just wants to grab our attention for no reason besides to grab our vote.
Yep.
It's a minstrel show.
She's from the streets of New Delhi. Yeah.
See, I never used to be into politics at all, until I got into the oil field, to where it really, really, to where my livelihood really depended on it. So whenever I started welding on the pipeline is whenever Obama was in office, and then whenever he got out, and then Trump came in, it really boomed, and man, I made a shit ton of money. And then whenever Biden got in, that was it. I lost my job, lost my career, had to go back to, not that I'm doing bad, but, I wasn't making six figures anymore either, making $200,000-$300,000 a year, and that's a big lifestyle change, being a blue collar worker, it just really chapped my ass to where, as soon as he got in the office, that was the first thing he did. He went in after inauguration, shut her down,
Yep.
put thousands and thousands of guys out of work. And you're here preaching, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna create more jobs and do this and do that," and all you did was just screw all the American people. And then 4 years came through and just totally screwed everybody with gas prices. Food prices. I remember paying 89 cents for a carton of eggs. Now they're $4.
Yep.
It's like, come on, people. Something's got to end. Now whether Trump is going to be able to, reverse that, in my opinion, I don't think he's going to be able to. I don't think he's going to be able to get food prices back down to. Once they go up, they ain't coming back down. I'm
They're hard to
sorry.
get
I mean,
back
that's my opinion. Maybe gasoline. Maybe he can, I'll mess with that a little bit. But I'm really hoping
you don't think
what he's. Go ahead.
You don't think he can at least stabilize the prices for a little bit of time? That way,
Maybe
we
stabilize
kinda
them.
creep up a little bit.
If gas prices come down and energy prices come down, it will.
Yeah. He might be able to stabilize them, but I really don't see food prices and everything else coming back down again. I mean, he might be able to do something with interest rates for homes, for people buying homes. He might be able to do something with that. But my biggest thing is whenever he said not taxing overtime. I work a lot of overtime, so all my they'll tax you on your 40 hours and not tax you on any of your overtime. You just get that money. I'm like, hell yeah. That'll definitely increase my wages, to where it might supplement for all the food increases and the gas increases and everything else, So,
But for something like not taxing overtime and tips, which I understand the marketability of it, if you've done your own taxes before, if you've ever worked for the IRS, you know that those forms, you're going to have to change the way you report all of your income. And at that point, you're inviting the government, which I know they're really good at this, but you're inviting people to fraudulently report their information, which they're going to do anyway. So it's like when I hear something like that, that item specifically, to me, just comes as pandering for votes, because most of the people don't understand the ramifications downstream of making a decision like, you're not going to tax your tips anymore, we're not going to tax your overtime anymore, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but that seems like, I mean, that's kind of, and I'm not trying to bash you whatsoever, but that would be the problem of the person, right? So like we have companies that help us with tax, H&R Block. I mean, at the end of the day, you get a form, you have bubbles pre-filled out. The employer, as a business owner, I understand this. Everything's kind of dumbed down, pretty easy. And especially for a lot of the people who are working overtime, blue collar jobs, I mean, they have payroll companies that do all that stuff for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think honestly, it's brilliant. Like everything, and we saw in 2016, we heard a lot of crazy things that we were told that would never work, and they crushed it. Tariffs, we were told tariffs would never work. And actually being in the off-road industry at that time, working for a company that bought semi trucks every day full of steel, and then seeing, we're not buying, as America, I'm talking about America, not the company. America's not buying steel from China anymore. We have steel plants back, in Pittsburgh, opening back up for the first time in years. And what's crazy is, and we're seeing it happen now again, all these crazy ideas that Trump brought to the table, they all worked, and he crushed it. And once again, now we're seeing it, fear. I just saw something on Instagram a little bit ago that my wife, I could bring up the DM right now. She was like telling me how much our clothing cost is going to go up because Trump's introducing tariffs. I'm like, it's not true. What's more than likely going to happen is you saw those brands. Yeah, you saw all those brands that were basically working out of sweatshops in China. They're realizing that they're going to be able to bring that back to the United States. And guess what? Now you have all these people who don't have jobs, who want to work. They can get to work. They're not going to be making $100,000 a year, but now we have no excuse. Yep. Now we're building the economy from inside the United States, middle out. It's just how it goes.
It doesn't fix laziness, and we have a laziness problem in this country.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, that'll change. That'll change because once people realize that they can earn good money and the prices have come down, they'll start working again.
Do you know what caused a laziness problem in the country?
Yes, they're called a handout.
Government.
Yeah, it's the Democratic Party. Democratic Party is the number one reason for oppression, laziness, handouts, homelessness. I mean, you look at where you have the most homeless people. Democratic states. Look at California. Look at Seattle. You have people. You have camps of tents, and why? Because
Atlanta's one of them.
Yeah, once you get items for free, well, I'm not gonna. Why do I need to go work at McDonald's? You know what I mean? It's all obvious. And I know I'm just rambling about how excited I am. I brought up earlier like the RFK and Elon Musk situation. I've been looking to that like pretty heavily. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of RFK. People call him conspiracy theorist or whatever. He just being in charge of one simple task with our health, right? Mm-hmm. He wants to eliminate all the crap that goes into our food, all the GMO products, all the pesticides. You know that we have corn, which I didn't know this until I looked it up because I heard him speak about it. You know that we have corn that is modified to be the only thing that survives when a plane dumps Roundup on top of it? That blows my mind.
Yeah.
If you ever mess with Roundup, it kills everything, including us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have corn that we grow, and corn is used for everything. Like our number one consumer product is corn. Sugar. Yeah. And it's just mind blowing to me how
that explains why that corn survives your digestive system.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. And then Elon, first of all, a guy that can two things. He can land a rocket being caught by like a spatula and some tongs. And another guy who goes in, buys X, makes it a free speech platform, and eliminates 90% of the waste out of that company, coming in and auditing our government and being literally solely in charge of government spending. He looked at the books, right? And I heard this on a podcast. I thought it was Joe Rogan, but it wasn't. I was just trying to look it up to give you the exact figure because I don't want to talk out of my ass. He did an audit just out of curiosity, sat down with Trump before he accepted this position. You know that in the past 4 years, the United States government has replaced, I think it was like 70,000 toilet bowls. You know how much we paid for each toilet bowl? It's $32,000 on average. And
Bitch, it's not a bidet.
He's saying he can, shout out to Jake Glazer. He's saying he can come in and eliminate $2 trillion of unuseful spending, right? Mm-hmm. What does that do for us? It lowers the amount of taxes we have to pay, like right off the rip. So I'm excited to see what this cabinet looks like. I'm pretty hype about it. Like everything is on the up and up. We got a trifecta, looks like.
Well, there's more than a trifecta. You got Tulsi Gabbard coming in too. She's coming on his cabinet.
I'm talking about House, Senate, presidential seat.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's why a lot of people didn't just vote for Donald Trump, is because he knows who he's bringing on to help him govern this next 4 years, and to have someone that's going to audit the government, because he's not lining his own pockets. Just like Donald Trump's not lining his own pockets being a president. He's got all these people that are going to be honest.
Keep in mind, he doesn't take a paycheck.
Well, he never said he's going to take a paycheck this time.
Yeah.
But the paycheck is a drop in a bucket. But speaking of drops in a bucket, saving $2 trillion a year, which I understand that you might want to look at that from like, oh, that's going to go into taxpayers' pocketbooks, or we're going to have taxes reduced. When you look at how much we're spending to service just a debt that we owe to we have with other countries, that money's not going to, we're not going to see a damn dime of that.
Not yet.
No,
not in our lifetime, Chris.
What I'm saying is, you have a guy. No, I agree with him. I definitely $2 trillion is actually a small number, but when you have a guy sit down at a dinner and they just go over a fraction of what's happening. I mean, I don't care who you are. There's some corruption going on when we're spending $32,000 on toilet bowls, and that's a fact. Like you can Google it. Like you can Google how much U.S. government was paid for toilet bowls, like, and it shows. I wonder
whose company that was. That's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, and that's just one small thing. We're not even getting into like any of the aerospace or any of the military weapons, like Boeing stuff that we're paying for out the ass. Like it's ridiculous. And if we can have someone come in who Elon is a savage. And he don't give a fuck who you are. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the interview when he took over on X and he talked about he's not going to be bribed for advertising. Mm-hmm. He literally looked at the camera and told everyone to go fuck themselves. Yes. And in a seat, like a meeting with X, and there's board members there, and there's all these very important people. He doesn't give a fuck who you are. He's just going to tell you to your face, go fuck yourself. You're not going to bribe me. I think it's amazing. I'm super excited for it.
Yep. So Elon has already asked for his help. I was already asked for help for his Department of Government Efficiency, and he's bringing in the libertarian god Ron Paul. I got excited about that, but Ron Paul takes things from I take things from a very similar perspective that Ron Paul has, and that is the only way to make government efficiency is to get rid of government. So I recognize we can't burn the whole place down in one day, as hard as that would make me. But the point being is it all has to come in. It's been bloated not over the course of 4 years. It's not been bloated because of the Democrats. It's been bloated because of bipartisan bullshit for decades.
Correct.
And I heard there's over 500 different government agencies.
2 new ones every single year.
Yep.
It's insane. Too much fat to cut out.
It's what happens when you Band-Aid everything.
Government just needs some Ozempic, baby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Slender down that bitch.
They're going to go on the carnivore diet.
I want to show this video really quick. Exactly. I thought it was fucking funny when I saw it the first time. Oh, bless you.
Oh, bless you, buddy.
Oh yeah, this is great.
It's on CNN.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we can show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming in 2020. Holy smokes. There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything from the east side there. Literally nothing. Literally nothing. Literally not.
Jake Tapper eating shit.
Places.
Love it.
There's a
I
lot
don't know
of
if this is
there was a lot of great
I don't know
stuff
if this
last
is
night.
true
that
or
they're-
not, but I heard somewhere they said that Trump got the most votes in Pennsylvania this time than ever in history for
Mhm.
for the Republican
history.
Party. Yeah,
Oh yeah, he did. He broke records everywhere. Like he turned Dade
Yeah.
County red for the first time ever.
When you increase your margin in 48 of 50 states, you're going to do better. And with how tight all these elections are or have been, I mean, all that is just a nice big long equation to taking the presidency.
Yeah. I knew he was going to take Pennsylvania. Just knew it.
I was hoping he did.
Yeah. I knew he was
It
going to
doesn't
take
sound like the pundits were expecting blacks and Hispanics to turn on the Democratic Party like they did and vote for Republican.
I don't really think that the Democrat Party
Yeah.
had any idea what was going to happen this time around.
No. Did you see The View? Did you watch The View this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
They were.
I know that girl on the far right's Republican.
Oh my God. Yeah,
the girl
one
with
that-
the yellow,
yes.
the yellow. She had the yellow pin on. I never watched The View before in my life, so I don't know where half these people stand.
Yeah,
which
the
I know they're
blonde.
all. No, I think she's a brunette.
Brunette now?
She was far
She-
right,
I
yellow
think
pin.
she used to be in
She's
Trump's,
she's an undercover Republican for sure.
Yeah. She used to be part of Trump's not cabinet, but like with his voting and all that kind of stuff, like to help him, get voting out and all that kind of stuff.
You guys think Trump's watching? Because Trump, if you are watching, I have a request for you. White House press secretary, I'd like to see be Theo Vaughn, please. That would be the best move you could ever make in your life.
Hmm.
Speaking of his cabinet, it sounds like he wants to just really bring in private sector for a lot of it. Joey, do you see any downsides to that?
No, absolutely not. I mean, personally, I don't. I mean, the way that we set up these positions, the way we have set these positions in the past, and it's just the same thing as a cabinet, right? Is it's always like you're picking from a little internal group instead of pulling from the masses. And the nice part of where we've come with podcast culture like this and others is that you begin to realize there's probably better people to do the job than what you have within whatever, the Republican Party, right? So Trump's in the office. He went through so much shit in 2016 with people after replacing people because he couldn't find the right people to do the job. Now he was always like, I had to fire the people because they weren't the right people to do the job, which I know we all understand and agree with. But maybe the lesson from that is to pull from a larger bucket. So good. Sorry.
Well, he didn't know in 2016 who he could use. He's not a politician, so
Yeah,
he didn't know.
he said that on Joe Rogan.
He didn't know who he could pull from. Whereas now he's learned in that 4 years of like, you know what? No, I can do this person, that person, this person because I trust those people.
I understand and love and respect that, but we all know that personality of Donald Trump, and he walked in like thinking I can do whatever the fuck I want to do because I'm the damn president of the United States. I don't believe that for a second because the attitude he was using in the 2016 election for him to get into a job and be like I'm not really sure what the rules are anymore. I think that's kind of bullshit.
Yeah,
Maybe so.
it checks out.
A lot of people think that the president makes all the rules.
It's a figurehead position. He doesn't make any ruals.
Correct, but that's what a lot of people think. So, I
Unless
was
you got that
dumbfounded.
trifecta.
I was dumbfounded last night when I was watching the count that I think Texas had the highest voting count per population. They had over 10 million votes. I think a population of 26 million people. Georgia, 4 million. I'm like, Georgia has like 30 million people, but 4 million people turn out to vote. Iowa, not even 1 million people.
Yeah, it's
So I'm like, it's just
interesting to me.
people just don't understand politics, or they don't care, or they don't understand how it works.
I mean, you also have the fact that a lot of people I talked to just didn't like either person.
Yeah, a lot of people abstained.
But I mean,
But the numbers still there. Like the total numbers of people who vote aren't far off from what they have been in the past, except for 2020 when they cheated and found an extra 30 million votes.
13.
I'll go.
Still counting. Could be 10 by tomorrow. You never know.
But you know what I mean. So
yeah,
it's a lot of people don't vote when they get older. They just go, I'm going to die soon. So who gives a shit? The country can go to shit. I don't care. It's the new young people that are coming up are registering to vote. So that's where you get that number flow on.
But to your point, right? Not seeing essentially the total turnout from going back to even 2008, it's been relatively flat except for 2020. So it has to make you wonder, if you take out the anomalous year, right? Like, yeah, it makes you wonder, like, why has it been flat? Because I mean, the number of people who are able to vote is inherently increasing a little bit every single year, but yet we're still seeing 60% turnout or whatever the number is.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that when I look at it, I'm like, that doesn't really seem right. That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. And then all that does is just feed my conspiracy theorist head that this is just a whole rigged series of bullshit anyway. It doesn't matter who wins, because it's like one big college football game. It's like watching Georgia and Alabama. Everyone's rooting for one team or the other, but at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me with the whole voting thing, two things. One, I don't understand the difference, like why we have early voting where you can go in and vote on a poll machine, and then there's like a shut-off time, and then like everyone crams in like voting day. Like, why can't we just have like a 2-week, 3-week period of just voting where you go at your leisure and go vote? And the other thing I don't understand, and this is an easy fix, this is something like I hope gets taken care of soon. We all have a serial number, all of us, right? We all have a social security number. I don't understand, like it can be attached to us with a credit report. It can be attached to us to identify us. It can be attached to us to buy a house, whatever we need to do to identify us as a human. I don't understand why our ballots aren't done with our social security numbers. And to make it even easier, I don't understand why we can't have a centralized place where we can just go online, cast our vote, and then if we're ever curious, we can just log into, like the IRS. We go to file taxes. You can log into IRS whenever you want and pull your tax history. Why isn't there just a vote.gov website where you can just go, type in your social security number, you can vote, and then you can also view your past votes to make sure nothing happened, nothing got changed? I think it's that easy.
Well, in Colorado, they're passing out they gave out the password to those Dominion machines. So on top of that, there's what's that?
They were only half passwords, but still.
Oh, only half. But still, I mean, even without that, you can hack a lot of things, right?
Yeah, China and Russia would love to see us go online for our voting. I can assure you that. And it's simply because it's not because we can't have secure elections. We certainly could. It's because that money is all went to fucking all kinds of other stupid shit. I agree. I would love to have a 2 to 3 week window where we could all do our voting. I don't want those values to be published as that's happening day by day or whatever, because I think that if things are starting to trend in one direction, the human reaction is to have more people come out and try to vote in the other direction. But I mean, as someone who lives in the mountains, and quite frankly, if I was going to do in-person voting on Tuesday, there's absolutely no way I would have been able to make it, because we've gotten like 25 inches of snow in the last 4 days. Yeah. So I love the early voting thing. I love being able to submit my ballot via the mail. I appreciate that. There's a lot of things I think we should be doing in this country, and this country is not ready for it. And the country is not ready for it, not out of capability or capacity. It's because of government screwing things up constantly.
And I don't think you can use your social security number, because I have a social security number. So how are they going to know if I can vote or not?
I'm using it as an example. I was using that and if I misspoke or I didn't make clear sense. So everyone has a social that is tied to them. We should be able to have a serial number that when we register to vote, we're given this number that's
I get
tied
you.
just to
Yes.
us. You know what
To
I mean?
your
And
yes.
Like a
it's
driver's
still,
license?
yeah. But what I'm saying is just a number. Just give us a number when we register to vote. Some people don't have a driver's license. You
Yep.
know, some people just have an ID, right? Just give us a number that where we can log into an online portal and view to make sure like my vote counted. And that's why I think it should be like if you want to keep in-person voting, that's fine, but there's too many hands touching it. You know, as literally my profession is cybersecurity and IT, I think that when you start to have too many hands in a pot, there's a lot more error that can be done. If you can bring the majority of the voting on to a web platform, first of all, when people use the argument, and I'm not saying you're wrong, that China and Russia would love to see us do that because it's probably hackable. You can definitely make a secure enough environment where it's not hackable. I can promise you that. That is actually a lot easier said than done. Our iPhones have enough encryption on them, 256-bit encryption, that in order to hack an iPhone, if you have a 6-character pin or longer, you know how long that would take? It would take 6 years. You know
How
what I
about
mean?
this idea? How about this idea? What if you had, like you said, you had an independent number tied to your voter registration? Every precinct every precinct has a telephone number that you call into, and you do it like American Idol. You call in, you hit 1 for Donald Trump, you hit 2 for Harris.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would automatically get recorded, just like you would all the time when you get confirmations for your doctor's appointment.
Yeah, something similar. I don't know how the logistics work with a phone and data storage. I do know you can create a secured environment. Like the reason people get hacked is social engineering, giving up credentials, keyloggers, things like that. I could see individual like voter, like people's accounts singly like being hacked. But as far as like a centralized server where all the database of everyone's information is stored, there's definitely ways that you can secure that where like an intruder can't just access that information. But yeah, like something super simple. And I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it by phone. Absolutely. And still be in person because you have people who it's a very small percentage, but you do have people who don't have the internet, don't have computers, even some people who don't have phones. And but I think our process is trash.
You cross the border, you get a phone for free now.
There you go.
And a credit card. Don't worry, I thought about going back and doing it all again. So
the overlying point in all this, and this is where my anti-authoritarian libertarianness comes in, is you guys trust the government way too damn much. I don't, and the way we vote is so. In my lifetime, we varied the way that people vote, and in that time, all it does is just bred additional complexity, additional issues, and just to try to say, hey, we've got this new fix. You know, the adoption. There's going to be the early adopters. There'll be the younger ones, and then there's going to be the fucking dinosaurs like me, who's like, I would prefer not. I don't want to do it from my phone. I don't want to call anybody. I don't want to text anybody. I would prefer to go down to a location and punch holes in a little form or something like that. I mean, that is my preference. I don't. The more that we make this process complex, the more that we invite potential issues.
well, there's a new issue coming out. I saw today, just a couple of hours ago, that they're going to wait. They're going to release the real economic numbers once Trump takes over. And they're going to be the worst numbers we've ever seen. And then that way, everyone's going to blame Trump for where we are at that point in time.
Who's they?
The Democrats, because they've been holding on to the way, like really, we should be in a recession right now.
Oh yeah.
Because the amount of spending that people are doing is next to none. Like, and being working at an off-road shop, I see the spending. No one has. We've become instead of a modification shop to a repair shop.
I was going to say changing oils and tire rotations and brake pads and stuff like that.
Ball joints.
ball joints.
It's
I've
bad.
got death wobble. I got this. I've got that. It's
Yeah.
not like, hey man, I just bought a brand new truck. I want an 8-inch lift.
See,
I just got a
but
Jeep.
Nope.
I want 37s and 6-inch lift. Nothing.
what
Yeah.
what interests me about like now all of a sudden being honest about the numbers, like the jobs report, it comes out and then all of a sudden they revise it next month, and it went from, hey, we had 150,000 jobs added. Now, oh, sorry, it was actually only 20,000 jobs or whatever. Between that and then you look at the way that the way the Democrats have changed the way that we look at consumer price indexing, the way that we look, they've changed the way that we've defined words, and then thus changed the way that the government, or the way that we've all looked at the numbers of government's efficiency or government spend and so on and so forth. It's like you've spent all this time trying to change the way we look at these metrics and change the way these metrics are calculated. Now you're going to decide to be honest just to screw over whoever's in office now. It's from my perspective, it's like, cool. We know, I know what you guys are trying to do. And I appreciate you trying to sugarcoat the shittiness of this country, but why all of a sudden is there going to be honesty now? Because you can't win a fucking election, because you can't figure out a candidate, you can't keep a candidate, you can't find anyone that's likable in your party. That's super freaking interesting to me, and I just can't wait for 2028.
That's what they do.
Yeah,
that's what the Democrats do. They don't work together. They'd rather work against everything.
So speaking of the future,
people they are.
Speaking of the future, I thought this was really interesting. This is a map of the census that's going to transition some votes for the next. This is in 2030, so this is where the votes are going to move. Electoral votes are going to move to, because of so many people moving out of California. They're going to have 4 electoral votes taken away from them. Those votes, if they're, now there's people moving to Arizona and Utah, so they're picking up an electoral vote because of the census there. Texas is getting 4, Florida 3, Tennessee 1, North Carolina 1. So this is going to be interesting for the Democrats. They're losing 3 in New York here. The future is going to be a lot different, I think.
Well, it's because everyone wants to go to Republican-run states.
It started with the party line shifting over because of the radical left.
Yep.
Well, a lot of it was economic driven for those places, because essentially pricing out people. But it also just underlies the point that the Democrat Party has been trying to get rid of the Electoral College for years. So this may be completely moot in 2030, because by 2028, who knows what we're going to be using to count who wins president in 2030? Well, 2032, I guess.
Well, the Electoral College didn't work for him this time.
Or the popular.
Yep. So I think I didn't quite understand the college electoral votes when I first got here at 2016. Didn't understand it.
I still don't.
Now I kind of understand it, and I think it works pretty good. If everyone comes out and votes, it makes it work. But if people sit back and let's just hope to see what happens, it doesn't work that way. Because you've got like Atlanta. Say Atlanta. Atlanta was always the problem when it come to Georgia and Savannah, because there was more liberals living in the city than outside of the city. So the Republicans, when they voted, the majority of the Republicans live outside of Atlanta and Savannah.
You still have
they
that.
had no voice.
You're just turning. They're just turning. Trump
Correct.
just turned votes. That's all.
That's Fulton County, though. Fulton County it's been in the news for so many wrong reasons lately. Yep. We don't even know if half of those votes are real.
Well, they still say Fulton County's blue. They're trying to still try and find votes to say it was blue.
It's so corrupt, we'll never know.
Yeah.
I think the Democrats' biggest issue is trying to put somebody up, find a candidate that is actually likable.
Well,
and I think it's exceedingly hard for them to do. And I am personally interested in what's going to happen in 2028, because I don't know what the DNC is going to do. Are they going to move forward with trying to prop up Gavin Newsom? Is there another heir apparent? Is it going to be Shapiro, which they couldn't even get him to acquiesce to what they were trying to do this time around? He backed out of being VP. So, and it's that, and then of course you've got the Republicans' golden boy. His last term is how are they going to shoot themselves in the foot to make JD Vance not look like the absolute badass they've made him look like thus far. For me, it's just genuinely interesting because there's going to be two candidates, and there's the two that are going to be fighting it out, and there's not going to be a third party unless something markedly changes in this country.
Y'all better hope Vivek doesn't get popular because that dude is a savage.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does at his cabinet position.
Yeah.
Or if he even takes one, because there's been rumors he will go back and take over a seat, whether it be a governor or whatever, in Ohio when the time comes. Which, being from Ohio, I mean, I would love to see that happen. Just because
so you're a fan.
There's a sprinkle of libertarianism in what Vivek wants to do. He's still broken clocks right twice a day. So for me, I'm interested to see what happens in 2028. We have to get there first, but go for it.
The Republicans just have so many to choose from now. Like the younger class are coming up, and they
A Democrat I'd like to see is
opinion.
Jeff Jackson, and every one of you, when we get off this podcast, and these listeners, go look up Jeff Jackson. Actually, he's the first time I ever voted Democrat. He just got North Carolina Attorney General, voted for him. But yeah, he's a good dude. And watch his videos. Like, you can pull up on his Instagram. He has a couple of pinned ones, but he goes into detail about what's happening behind the scenes, stuff that we don't get to see traditionally. We get what the media feeds us, but we don't get, and we get what they say, little bits and pieces. But he will get out of like a congressional meeting and then get straight to Instagram and it's like, all right, guys, this is what happened in this meeting. So-and-so stood up, acted all pissed off when the cameras were on, but as soon as the cameras turned off, he acted like everything was fine. And these are people in his own party. These aren't like him. He's not bashing, Republicans. He is bashing his own party. So it's cool to see that.
Sounds like a weird way to die.
Yeah, well, the whole party needs to change.
They changed his district.
Gerrymandering is real, man.
He got kicked out. They changed his district because he was giving out too much truth, and there was no way to get him out, so they changed his district on him. So then he ran for Attorney General.
Yeah.
All right, before we go, I got a question for everyone. You get two wishes in this next 4 years. What would you like to see? What laws would you like to see changed? What government agency would you like to see go? Joey, we'll start with you. Let's start with Joey.
Which ones do I want to see go?
Yeah.
Oof. As someone who wants it all to go, let's start with the Department of Education, and let's get rid of the Federal Reserve.
Oof.
I like it. Alex?
I just want all the freaking immigrants gone from Charleroi. Come in, scoop up all the Haitians, and get them out of here.
Yeah,
I think that's going to happen really quick.
It's bad. Dude.
Travis?
It's bad.
Agency I want to see go, FEMA. Just because they're trash. Firsthand experience from this last storm. Literally, I'm seeing people, blood, sweat, and tears, volunteering, getting efforts to fill up trailers to take out to Western Carolina. And then you get there and FEMA's like, all right, we're going to put this in our warehouse here. And like, you got people who are literally dying that don't have a car. They have no driveway anymore. They can't get to a collection point. And you have like civilians who are trying to bring them supplies, and FEMA is confiscating, the National Guard is confiscating these supplies. Is the most ass backwards shit show I've ever seen. And if that tells you that your government is not here to help you, I don't know what does. Unfortunately, it wasn't even reported or barely even talked about. And then something I want to see passed. There's a whole lot, but right now what I'm dealing with, suppressors. Like, why are we banning them, man? Come on. I mean, not banning them, but we got to go through the worst process ever created
What is 24? It's 24 to 48 hours to get one.
No, it's not.
Has been here.
Yeah. So first of all, it depends on where you buy it from, how you file. If you don't file in a trust and you just personal tax stamp, yes, it's 24 to 48 hours. But if you file in a trust, you're still 6 months plus out. At least that's what I'm noticing, or that's what I'm hearing. And I don't want to have a suppressor on my AR, someone break into my house, my wife ends up capping someone, and then she goes to prison for 10 plus years because she used a firearm with a suppressor on it. The most bullshit thing I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff I want to see. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, the Safe Hearing Act is supposed to be. There's supposed to be two different bills that are similarly spelled out. So there's the Safe Hearing Act is one, and the other is called Hush, and that's an acronym for something.
Does anyone know? And I don't know. Does anyone know why? I mean, Gabe, I feel like you would know this. Why are suppressors not able to be just bought off the shelf?
It was the NFA Act that established suppressors, part of the NFA Act. The reasoning behind it, I don't remember offhand.
They can't have a legitimate reason. It should be harder to purchase the firearm. I mean, theoretically, no, please don't make it any more difficult. I mean, I like the regulations that are in place. I love background checks for people who don't have concealed carry in my state. I love all the regulations. Don't get me wrong. Even though those regulations are bullshit, I just went to a gun show, bought an unserialized firearm at a gun show without a background check. Mind blowing. Anyway, the firearm should be the hardest thing to purchase. A suppressor, it's not like in the movies where when you actually attach a suppressor, it's like, you know what I mean? It's
right. It's not John Wick, unless it's a 300 blackout with subsonics.
Subsonics, yeah. But whatever.
Yes, it's they were added to the NFA 1934, it says here. But yeah, I think it also has to do with the way the ATF has categorized it as a gun part instead of a gun accessory.
Let's get that fixed.
Yeah. So, Chris, what departments, what law would you like to see changed?
Well, they need to close the border. So, Haitians look pretty scary when they're right beside you.
This is a hypocrite right here.
Nope, I did it the right way.
I'm just kidding.
Nope, I did it the right way. It cost me a lot of money to enter this country.
Yeah.
Come here legally. I'll have no problem with you.
You remember when you got a flat tire in Panama City and I turned around and picked you up and we had this conversation? You told me about your story and your daughter and all this stuff. So I was just kidding.
Yeah.
I have to ask you guys. You guys being mostly Trump guys. Do you really think he's going to do anything about the border this time around? Because all the promises.
Yes.
Hold on. All the promises he's made in 2016, that wall never got fucking built. Nothing happened. And you can blame the Democrats here and there as if they're not going to do anything this time around. I just love to hear you guys backing somebody who failed at something before and you feel like he's going to get the direction and be able to do something this time, because we all know when a politician wins and they get into office, the first thing they do is everything they said they're going to do.
Well, he did build the wall.
He did build quite a bit of the wall, didn't he? And then they stopped.
So part of that wall, this is actually a big misconception. Part of that wall was already there. He added on some of the wall. It's like 30% complete or something like that. The thing, and this is my theory. First of all, out of all the politicians who run, no one has given us more of their promises than Donald Trump. I don't care. For me, since I've been able to vote, I've never seen a politician do more for a country than Donald Trump. This is my opinion, but I think what happened is he did spew out a lot of promises, and a lot of those promises he was able to achieve by executive order. And there were some things he couldn't achieve by executive order. And one of those things was funding to build the wall. Now, do I think he's going to finish it? I think that I think that's part of his whole game plan now that he's been able to reflect on his last presidency. I think that, first of all, he still did a great job with immigration. I think that he did the best he could with Border Patrol agents, National Guard that we had, to have a safer, more secure border. He invested in a lot of technologies using aircraft, thermal, things that we weren't doing as much before. But, I think now it's going to be a priority. I think he's going to, do something. I think the wall, me personally, I think it's stupid. I mean, but
just up Border Patrol. Can't you just up Border Patrol?
You can't. One person can't cover that much ground.
The Department of Homeland Security is the largest employer in this entire country by a very, very large margin.
Yes, we've got a big border to cover.
Yeah.
Stop Canada. Put them up north.
I think he's with the way the border's going to be this time around. He has more support now because we have the Senate and the House, so he'll get the funding that he needs. Because a lot of these senators and governors have turned around to get their vote, have said the same thing as what Trump has. We're going to look after and get this border closed down. So they're going to be caught lying too if they don't back Trump.
Our immigration issue is at least twofold. The first one is you can try and reduce the number of people crossing your border. But at this point, after leaking like a sieve for 4 years, how do you think President-elect Trump is going to extract all the individuals in this country who shouldn't be here or whomever deems them they shouldn't be here? Like, how do you think that looks like? Is it going to be just like knocking on doors, dragging bitches out by their feet? Like, what's that going to look like? Because to me, it's a witch hunt at that point. Good.
Well, there's a lot of them already living in hotels. Mm-hmm. We know that.
I've already applied for the bus driving position.
I think it's to me it's not a very simple task. I think it has to be delicate. I mean, I have friends literally, one of my wife's best friends, she, her family is part of that status, and it's a tough situation really to kind of break it down. But if you want to weigh, I think that I don't know if you guys knew this in the news, but there was a time where we were flying, dumping, busing people into airports, hotels, and hurting them like cattle, which to me is mind-blowing on humanitarian right. But
that's how we handle the homeless population here in Denver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's how they do it in St. George, Utah. They put them on a bus and ship them back to Vegas.
I think that the proper way to do it is find like a due process, right? So if as people, are living their lives, you train local authorities. I don't think like things like ICE should be doing it, but you train local authorities, and when there are normal daily interactions with citizens, you figure out, what's going on. Are you a part of that? Papers. Not necessarily, but I think what you do in return, because it's kind of too late. I don't think you can just round people up like cattle and just say,
well, you've got two stages of illegal immigrants, right? You have what I say is the ones that come here for the right reasons as an illegal immigrant because they want to do the right thing. They're leaving somewhere where they can't,
absolutely,
like scared for their life. Mm-hmm. And then you've
want
got the ones,
what a better opportunity for themselves.
Correct. And then you've got the ones
that have mostly come over the border. American white girl.
That have mostly come over the border for the wrong reasons, is to crime, drugs, guns, human trafficking, all that kind of stuff. They're the ones that you want to kick out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you get pulled over by the police and you got fentanyl on you, and we have a system where we can see that they're not a U.S. citizen, and they're not here to better themselves or better their community, then the answer's simple, right? We know what to do with that person. But I don't think we go around knocking on doors and like, show me your
I don't think it's going
papers.
to be like that.
And then,
Well, it used to be. It used to be.
It did.
In the 1980s. Growing up in Los Angeles, I remember this distinctly, and this is one reason why I've grown up not knowing Spanish. My parents feared that me knowing Spanish would be an extra check mark for me to get possibly deported, even though I was born in California.
Just disappeared.
Were your parents U.S. citizens?
My dad came over in Mexico in the 50s. My mom was born in Long Beach, California. Her parents were born in New Mexico. My great grandfather was a mayor in Columbus, New Mexico, in the 50s.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I think the answer to that's easy. I don't think we just door knock and grab people who shouldn't be here, because everyone deserves the right to be here. We're all at one point immigrants, but I think that there's a process. There's a process, and that what's really infuriating me, and I know we're running out of time, but the people who are posting about this on social media, like, they're being so selfish about this whole situation. Like, there's a process for everything, right? Just like I'm in the suppressor purchasing process right now. It's a pain in the ass, but I have to do it. And then there's people, that don't give a shit. They're here with bad intentions, who don't deserve the right that, the American dream. It's a privilege to be here. It's not necessarily a right. And I think that for the people who are abusing that right, then that's your answer. You collect those people who are doing bad for the communities and aiding this epidemic of drugs that we have, rapists, whatever that they are doing illegally, and they get caught doing it, instead of throwing them in the United States jail, send them back exactly where they came from, whatever country that is, as we tighten the border. And then
I think if you're a big booty Latina, they should just let you come across immediately, though. Okay?
So Trump's just going to start like he did with stay in Mexico.
Yes,
which will stop the
stay
caravans from coming.
Stay Mexico never went away. They just stopped enforcing it.
Well, yes. Well, the Democrats just dropped it day one.
Right.
They didn't enforce that at all.
They need voters, man, but they don't have a candidate worth propping up. It's going to happen in 2028.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, is the education department has to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it has to go. It needs to be brought back to the parents. Teachers.
I think there just needs to be reform.
Yeah, teachers never ever gave their personal opinion towards kids growing up. It was always this is what we're going to learn, and this is how we're going to learn it. It was never up to the teachers to do it.
Yeah, and it'll never happen. We had school reform on the ballot here in Colorado this year. Shot down like a motherfucker. It'll never happen.
So the two things I think I would get rid of, one, I'd abolish the ATF. Absolutely get rid of the ATF.
Yeah, I like that one.
Don't need them. They're just putting their nose into everything. And
how would you regulate firearm sales legally then?
I think you keep in position the background checks for firearms. That's about as far as I'd want to go.
Yep.
Push it to the states like abortion. Get it out of the federal hands, push to the states like abortion, go from there.
Yeah.
Supreme Court should do that immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then like you're with that, when you push it to the states and you're infringing on the Constitution, I believe.
We don't really pay attention to the Constitution much in this country anymore, so I think it's probably maybe a little bit least of our issues.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we do.
Yeah. I think that's the whole problem. People have forgotten what that Constitution is.
Yeah, I agree.
It needs to go back, and it needs to go back to living by the Constitution, which is what made this country great in the first place.
But at this point, if all we're seeing is incessant stricture from the federal government on our Second Amendment rights, then something needs to change.
That's
the
it.
Government can change, or we can take it out of the hands of the federal government and push it down the states. I'm not saying it's the right answer. I'm saying there would be more freedoms in certain states than what's currently being provided by our federal government if it was pushed out of the federal government to the states. But
If people
No,
just
I-
learned to live by the Constitution, we'd have more freedoms. If
Well, here's the other thing too.
you get rid of
The other thing is there's too much gaslighting. All we hear is that
Oh, yeah.
there's kids dying. There's kids dying, but these kids are gangbangers.
Yep.
On top of that, these people that are so naive are willing to believe that this country is the worst country in gun violence, and we're like number 39 in the
How
world.
many
for gun
responsible
violence.
gun owners are the reason that there is gun violence?
Mm-hmm.
none.
Yeah,
It's
but
close
it's
to
a
liberal
it's
reporter.
close to zero.
Yeah.
Correct.
But we were talking about like the Democrats fudging different metrics and stuff like that. Like the murder rate, it includes suicides, it includes gangbanging and stuff like that. You back all that stuff out and you actually evaluate that number from a proper lens. This becomes much less of a conversation. Unfortunately, to Gabe's point, it's just gaslighting and gaslighting and gaslighting.
Well, I'll take
they're
this
adding
from
18 and
Australian's
19-year-olds
point of
as
view.
kids too.
So back at home, everyone used to say to me,
This is
like,
home.
well, back in Australia, thanks, Travis. They used to say to me, like, do you see gun shootings all the time? Do you see people running around with guns and popping off? And I'm like, no.
No, you guys eat
That's what
Vegemite.
that's what we're
Phoenix.
taught back at home because they see the news. All they see is shooting. And a lot of Australians don't realize how big America is. They just don't. Like, we have the population of Texas. And they just don't understand. If you've got 333 million people, you're going to have 1 million people are bad going around shooting people.
Yo, imagine
it's
if the
just
kangaroo
percentages.
got a hold of an AR, bro. It'd be over.
Oh, my
Good
God.
lights
I don't
out.
think the hands would work the way you would think.
Nah,
They would use his
have
tail,
you not-
bring a tail
Have you
around.
not
quick
seen
bit.
Crocodile Dundee? That kangaroo shoots with a 22.
Yeah.
That's a 22.
It can handle an
Anyway, Gabe,
AK-47.
what is
easily.
But back to your thing. If you get rid of the ATF, I think you can take the NRA and just have them do background checks.
And NRA is just a lobbyist. It's just a lobbyist group that's basically just.
Yeah, I don't
They
want to trust that.
I said this the last time we were on here. All the NRA does is basically lobby and sell your rights between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. That's all it is. Get rid of them too, even though they're not a government institution.
There's
What do you
other,
want to
there's
see-
other, there's other gun lobbyists out there for
USCCA.
us that do way better job than the NRA. But to close out, the law that I want to see flipped is legalizing marijuana.
I don't know
Yeah,
how
ban
we're
it.
still having this conversation in this country.
Ban
It's
it.
baffling me. I mean, that was one of the tenets that Biden ran on in the 2020 election was that, the decriminalization and getting the people that were in federal penitentiaries for weed, getting them out. And we're still sitting here, and it's like the states are running the damn marijuana industry in Ohio. I just don't. I don't get how we're having this conversation. Decriminalize fucking everything.
Decriminalize it, legalize it, tax it, boom. You know how
If
much
someone-
fucking money, tax money is coming out of Colorado and California for legal
If
weed?
someone can invent a breathalyzer test for marijuana, it would become legal like that. Just because of the fact that one of the biggest challenges and what's so difficult, and like this just happened on the Florida ballot, just past election. But one of the biggest challenges, it's one of the only things that's undetectable to test on the fly if you're under the influence, besides using a sobriety test that is designed to make you fail. They don't have anything to back themselves up in court, and it's the legality of it. It's with insurance and everything else. That, unfortunately, I think is the answer. But if someone can invent something, it may be like a laser that points at your eye. I don't know exactly what it would be.
A glaucoma test right when you're trying to drive. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying something that can say this dude just smoked weed and he's high, or something that's not. Because look at like Michael Jordan looks high all the time. Dude doesn't smoke weed, but his eyes are like
his yellow eyes is from the alcoholism, which I certainly support. But the point that you're making is you have to take it from the top down instead of bottom up. And unless you can actually, in some way, shape, or form, test and enforce it, then it should not be a thing in the first place. You don't know if I'm fucking smoking weed and driving my car or a bulldozer through the city of Granby or whatever. Like, you shouldn't be able to enforce it unless you can actually prove I'm doing it. That we do have the test for alcohol sobriety. Until there's a one for weed, then it's not a thing. Let it go.
well, you're not going to get
a-
arrested for
If I'm sitting driving down the street doing this, a little hitting a little toe.
if that's the probable cause right there.
So there is a test. There is a test for it. The problem is marijuana stays in your system for 30 days. That test cannot pinpoint how long you've been stoned for
That's what I'm
during
saying.
a certain period.
Or when.
Breathalyzer, like a breathalyzer, like for alcohol, right? Like you can take a urinalysis test and they could say, you drank in the past 48 hours or whatever. But breathalyzer would tell how under the influence you are at that point in time. And like, I don't know, Gabe, one time I was in Colorado hanging out for one of your podcasts, my very first one 10 years ago, and you gave me something. And
it was a
if there was a scale of 0 to 10, I was 14. I forgot to breathe sometimes. Like I was like almost passing out, because that's what I'm saying is you got to be able to test like on a scale somehow to be able, or else you're going to have idiots that who never smoked weed in their life smoke and then go kill somebody. It's just going to happen because we have idiots.
It affects everybody differently, right? Like, if I'm a functional alcoholic and I have 3 drinks, you might smell it on my breath if you pull me over. You might do a blood alcohol test, and it may say I'm popped. But meanwhile, I am within my range of normalcy. And then again, to the point that's making, unless you can actually find a way to enforce it, then it should not be a thing in the first place. Legalize all the drugs.
Yeah. But as a former stoner, I think if they do have a test for it, there shouldn't be a limit on it, because even the small, like Travis was saying, even the small amounts of marijuana can impair you.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on a trail stoned videotaping shit, and I'm almost getting run over because I'm like, fuck, I'm that much slower. And so I stopped smoking pot before I'm filming, so I have that reaction time, and it's paid off. There's been a few times where it's been super hairy and I get out of the way.
Every time I do, I feel like I'm about to die.
Do mushrooms instead.
Yeah. So
I think that'll be worse for Travis.
I'll just stick to Adderall and call it a day.
Adderall and blends.
Yep.
Yes.
God. All right.
Well, guys, this has been a good talk. I appreciate you coming on, accepting the invite.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
What's up, Joey?
One final point. When Donald Trump was speaking at the Libertarian National Convention, he said one of the first things he was going to do when he took office was free Ross Ulbricht. I want to see Donald Trump stand behind his words and free fucking Ross Ulbricht. Last point I want to make tonight. Thanks, Gabe.
He freed who'd he free? Like Fetty Wap? Nah, who'd he free? Quavo? He freed some rappers. He'll do it.
People.
He'll do
Less
it.
important people.
That's what I actually came with notes. Like I wrote out a bunch of statistics on. I was waiting for, we're missing a guest, but I know we had a Democratic guest coming on, and I had statistics ready to rip for all the things that Donald Trump has done for like the African American community, the Latino community. I have statistics on what the stock market looked like, how many jobs were created. I was ready to go. Didn't even get to use any of them, but it's all right.
Save it for the next one, Travis.
Yeah.
Next time. Midterms in 2 years.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. So that's been our Election Day recap and our analysis and summary. And we're hoping the next 4 years brings us a lot of positivity.
No need to
country
hope.
back to a good financial state, and we could afford groceries again, and
drill, baby, drill.
That's
drill,
it.
There you go.
Drill,
get Alex's
baby,
job
drill.
back.
Yeah.
Get Alex
out there welding that pipe again. Yep.
Hell yeah.
I got some pipe you can weld.
And now we're back to the big booty Latinas. Let's go.
Yes.
I felt like this
All right,
podcast
everyone.
was way too serious. All right.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Yes, thank you.
See ya.
Bye.